PPTs, right?
Uh, yes, yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. It's indeed inspiring to see you back again. Welcome back to Data Fest. Data Fest is the celebration of our 8th Foundation Day. So, under Data Fest, we have organized various boot camps, guest sessions, and competition. So, as a part of guest sessions, today we have a guest session on Agile Methodology, Scrum. So today's session is delivered by Poonam Gupta ma'am. So Poonam Gupta ma'am is an associate professor and head of the department at IT department, GH Raisoni College of Engineering and Management, Pune. She has experience of more than 22 years and she is the PhD from KL University. So I welcome Poonam Gupta ma'am and request her to start with the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Soyo. Hello, Soyo. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible and your screen is also visible.
Okay. So, hello to all the participants. In today's lecture, I will be covering Agile Methodology, Scrum. So when we go for Agile Methodology, Scrum, the objective of my today's lecture will be to explain you about Agile Methodology, to describe the Scrum, and while giving the description, my emphasis will be on the events, artifacts, and the accountabilities which are used in Scrum, then illustrate the working of Scrum framework, and I will also provide you some information about the Scrum Master certifications. So this is my objective for today's lecture. Before starting the Agile, the prerequisite is that you must know what is software engineering. And in software engineering, basically, you must know what is software development lifecycle. That is SDLC. It was first defined in 1960 and it has many phases like requirement analysis, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. And with this, it gives many approaches like waterfall model, prototype, spiral, and iterative model. And this waterfall model is the most famous model and it is established by the Vincent Royce in 1970. This is about the software development lifecycle. As I hope that all the software, all the participants will be related to the software industry and software background. That's why I'm giving this explanation. Basically, agile methodology, when we go for agile methodology, it is not only for the software development. It is used by all the industries, maybe manufacturing, in mechanical industry, even in fashion industry, everywhere agile can be used. Wherever product is developed, that agile can be used. Now, before starting the agile, I have given you the explanation about SDLC, as we must know what was before agile. Before agile, it was SDLC and the waterfall model. There are certain lacunas in waterfall model, so there is a scope to have something better than the waterfall model. So in year 2001, Agile has been launched, and this has been launched by the 17 technologists, and that is called as Agile Manifesto. Basically, Ken Schwaber and Zeb Sutherland are called the founding father of Agile methodology. When we talk about the Agile methodology, it has 4 values and 12 principles. It also gives the iterative approach. Now there is a iterative approach in waterfall model also, but we will see how it will overcome the lacunas or disadvantage of the waterfall model. In Agile, it is approach. Iterative approach means it start with the planning. It is a quick planning. After planning, there will be a design, development, testing, and now the main point is release. After testing, whatever you have developed, that product will be released to the customer, those who will be using that product actually. And after the use of that product, your customer will provide you the feedback. And as the development team will have the feedback, that will be considered for the next iteration. That is how the Agile actually work. Now, what is the main difference between the Agile and waterfall model? When we go traditionally waterfall model project management, there is a lots of planning, and after planning, development start. When development start, there is a very less scope to accommodate the changes asked by the customer, and there is a fixed project definition, while Agile give you flexibility over it. How? That the planning will be minimum and it will allow you to accept the changes by the customer. Means here you are giving the importance to the customer rather than your process. And the fixed here in Agile, the time and cost is fixed. Now we will see what are the 4 core values of the Agile. The first thing is about individual and interaction over process and tools, working software over comprehensive documents, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following the plan. Now, here if you see that whatever I have highlighted in orange color, all these are the points which are followed in an Agile manifesto, while other points which are in white, like process and tools, comprehensive documents, contract negotiation, following the plan, these are the points which we were following in our traditional approach. Here, Agile Manifesto says that you should hire right people, empower them, and then allow them to interact positively so that you will get the success. While in our SDLC, the processes and the tools have more importance. Now, Agile do not say that process and tools are not important, but more than the process and tools, the individual and their interaction is important to have the success in your product. Second thing, working software over documentation. Again, Agile do not say that do not document, but instead of documenting this thing, you should give the more importance to the working software, that you deliver the software to the customer and then you document. Similarly, customer collaboration. In SDLC, we collect the requirement, we gather the requirement, and then we start development. Here we are collecting the requirement, we start developing, and then customers are not ignored, or they are not distanced, but customer is always a part of your development process. Their feedback is always valued. So every point of time, you are taking the feedback from the customer so that your product will be more useful to the customer as per their requirement. Similarly, responding to the change over following a plan. In SDLC, we plan and we follow that plan. Accommodating a change at later stage is very difficult in SDLC. But here in Agile, it says that adaptability is the main focus of the Agile. And that's why whenever customer asks for the change, you accept that change and you accommodate it. So these are the 4 core values of the Agile: individual and interaction, working software, customer collaboration, and responding to change. Next, there are the 12 principles in Agile Manifesto they have given. Here also, if you will see that first thing is customer satisfaction, then changing requirement, frequent delivery. Product will be delivered frequently as it is a iterative approach. Communication inside the team as well as with the customer. Then it is not only the case that you are valuing your customer, you are valuing your team members as well by supporting the team member, by empowering them. Then communication is very important, but here mainly it is asked that face-to-face communication. Face-to-face communication means do meeting, quick meetings. There are many meetings in Agile. We will see when we will discuss about the Scrum. Then whenever you are developing, you should see, you should measure the progress, work progress. Then you design, you measure the progress, continue seeking the result. Every iteration, we have to give some valued increment to the customer. Then reflect and adjust regularly as you are checking the progress, as you are taking the feedback from the customer. According to that, adapt and then reflect. Because of these 4 values and 12 principles, there are certain advantages. The first advantage is satisfied customer. Nowadays, this is not nowadays, every time satisfied customer is always an asset to every organization. So by following the core values and the 12 agile principles, customers are always satisfied because their feedback, we have taken the feedback consistently, and whatever is the feedback, accordingly we have adjusted our process, we have adjusted our product, and customer will get overall good user experience, and this surely retain the customer. Next thing is improved quality. As it is a iterative approach, every time you see that what has gone wrong, where we have improved, and where is the scope of improvement, and in next iteration it will be taken care of. That's why the quality of the process as well as quality of the product will always get better and better. Then adaptability, as every time we are open for the changes, that's why even at the last minute, we in agile we can accept the changes from the users. Then predictability, here in agile one more thing is that team work for a short period of time. That generally it is called a sprint, and sprint is of 1 month or less than a 1 month. So it is very easy for any manager to see or measure the team performance, assign the resources to the team members, and this will help to predict the cost as well as the risk. And as we can predict the risk, it is always better to be ready to mitigate that risk. So as you can predict the risk, you can reduce the risk. By regularly assessing the progress, you provide the better visibility, and as you get the better visibility, you can find out what obstacles are there and how you can mitigate the risk of those obstacles. Then better communication. Agile team prioritize the face-to-face communication and continuous interaction. It helps the team to successfully achieve their objective, that delivering a better product to the customer. Now there are many agile methodologies like Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Crystal, extreme programming. feature-driven development, adaptive software development, dynamic system development method. But out of this, if you see that 56% organizations are using the Scrum, and all these organizations are not only the software industry, other manufacturing industries are also using the Scrum, as well as there are 28% industries which are using Scrum with the hybrid approach. That's why collectively you can say that 84% of the companies nowadays are using Scrum. So this is all about the agile methodology. After this, we'll start the Scrum framework. About Scrum. Now, for Scrum, there is only one best document, and that is the Scrum guide. Every time you will get the updated Scrum guide, and right now the updated version of the Scrum guide was released in 2020. So according to the Scrum guide, what is Scrum? It is a lightweight framework which helps the people, teams and organization to generate value through adaptive solution for a complex problem. Basically, it is defined that, but Scrum is always used for the complex problem. Now, this is all the theoretical approaches of the Scrum. When you have to work in Scrum, you must know about the basic theory, basic concept of the Scrum. Scrum is based on the iterative incremental approach, which optimize the predictability and also control the risk that we have seen in the advantage of the agile as well. But other than this, Scrum is also founded on empirism and lean thinking. Now, what is empirism and what is lean thinking? Empirism says that knowledge comes from the experience, while making decision is based on what you have observed. While lean thinking reduces the waste and only focuses on the essential. So here, if we see the gist of the Scrum, that Scrum is iterative and incremental approach, and basically it is founded on empirism and lean thinking. Now, like Agile, it has also given few philosophies. Like in Scrum, there are three pillars, and three pillars are transparency, inspection, and adoption. In transparency, it says that in order for team members to feel responsible for the overall result, they must know all the essentials of the process and be regularly informed. Means whosoever is the team member, he must know all the details about the process, and whatever the changes are happening, that team member must get to know about that. Inspection, all the artifacts and the sprint progress must be regularly compared with the achievement of the final goal to identify the possible deviation. And then adoption. If any deviation is there, then quickly adjust in order to get the optimal result. So when we will discuss about the Scrum artifact, Scrum event, all these three pillars will get more clearer to you. So three pillars are transparency, inspection, and adoption. Whatever is there must be known to the every team member. They should always check the progress, and if there is any deviation, then adapt to it. There are five Scrum values: that courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. Courage is Scrum team members have the courage to do right thing and work through the tough problems. Focus means everyone is focused on the work of the sprint and the goal of the Scrum team. Every team members, every individual must be committed to achieve the goal. Then respect. Every team member must respect each other. and openness. Scrum team and its stakeholder agree to be open about all the work and the challenges with regard to performing the work. So in this way, there are three Scrum pillars: transparency, then inspection and adoption, while five Scrum values: courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. On this basis, Scrum is formed. Now there are 5 events in the Scrum. There is one event that is called the sprint, and this is the container of all other 4 events. And all other 4 events are: the first is sprint planning, another one is daily scrum, then is the sprint review, and then sprint retrospective. These are the 5 scrum event. And for what purpose these 5 events are given? These 5 events are the opportunity to inspect and adapt whatever we have discussed that about the 3 scrum pillar, that is transparency, then inspection and adoption. So here, this is every event is the formal opportunity to inspect and adapt the Scrum artifacts. These events are designed to enable the transparency. Now, how the transparency is enabled? Because we have provided the Scrum artifacts, and for every artifact, we have the commitment. So again, as we move forward, we will discuss about the Scrum artifact and the commitment of each artifact. So as of now, we discussed about the Scrum 3 pillars, 5 values, and 5 events. The main event is a sprint, that is called container, and 4 other events: sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. Now we will discuss about the Scrum team. Scrum team consists of one Scrum Master, one product owner, and developers. Earlier, developers were called developer team, but in 2020 Scrum Guide, it is defined that there will be only one Scrum team, and then Scrum team members would be called as one Scrum Master, one product owner, and other developers. Team size is 10 or fewer people. Team size never exceeds the 10 members. There are no sub-teams or hierarchy. It is cross-functional and self-managing. Small team communicate better and give more productivity. For this purpose, team size is always less than 10. What is mean by the cross-functional? That all the team members, because the developers will be developing the software and they should have all necessary skills required to develop the software. Now, what is self-managing? As we know that there is only one Scrum Master and one product owner. So nobody will tell the developer what they have to do, but developer themselves will decide that who will do what, when, and how. No one is there to instruct them what they have to do, when they have to do, and how they have to do. So this is how the developers are empowered here. An entire team is accountable for creating a valuable, useful increment every sprint. So here we discussed about the 5 events in last slide, and in this slide we discussed about the Scrum team. Then we are discussing about the Scrum artifacts. The Scrum artifacts, there are 3 artifacts: product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. Now, what are these artifacts? These artifacts represent the work or value. What exactly Scrum team has to do? that is defined in product backlog. Then some task of product backlog, some items from product backlog will be fetched in sprint backlog. So that is also representing the work. And then Scrum team will be working on the sprint backlogs and creating the increments. And that is the actual outcome of the sprint. Now here we say that for every artifact, there are 3 artifacts, and for every artifact, there is a commitment to ensure that it provides the information and enhances the transparency and the focus against which progress can be measured. It means that whatever is commitment provided to the product backlog, sprint backlog, or increment, it will enhance the transparency. And if you have to check what work has been completed till now, so that will be cross-checked against the commitment given for each product backlog. So here we are discussing the Scrum artifact and respective commitments. For product backlog, there is a commitment product goal. For sprint backlog, there is a commitment sprint goal. And for increment, there is a commitment definition of the done. These are the commitment for the 3 artifacts. Now, how the product backlog will be formed? As we have discussed that there are 3 accountabilities in Scrum team. The first one is product owner. So now what is the task of product owner? Product owner will be discussing with the stakeholder and finding out what work exactly need to be done by the developer team, what exact product need to be developed by the developers. And whatever the requirements are there, that those requirements will be recorded in the product backlog using user stories. And from this product backlog, some user stories will be fetched in sprint backlog, which is the second artifacts. And this sprint backlog will be considered by the developer. And then developer, by referring the sprint backlog, creating valuable increment at the end of the sprint. As of now, we are discussing all the basic requirements of the Scrum. Now here, I have given the details about the product backlog and product goals. What actually is the product backlog? It is the ordered list where it is only a single resource of everything what is need to be done for the product. It is a living artifact. Why it is a living artifact? Because product owner is always in communication with the stakeholder, and product owner can change the product backlog list. The tasks which are not in a consideration by the Scrum team can anytime be changed. Product owner is always responsible for managing the product backlog. That is the contents of the product backlog, what is the order of the product backlog, what is the priority. Product backlog are the actual tasks to be performed by the developer. Then if there are many tasks, then how to find out that which task is to be done? That's why the order and the priority is given to every task, and as per the priority, the task product backlog list, the task from the product backlog list will be taken into the sprint backlog. This product backlog will never be complete. Product backlog will only be complete if the product is developed. Till the product is in the phase of development, product backlog never complete. Then what here, next slide, we can see that product backlog has epic, features, user stories, tasks, and bugs. Then product backlog refinement is done to update some details in product backlogs. Whatever are the highest order item will be kept on the top of the product backlog list. And all the ready items can be considered by the development team. Means all the items, product backlog items, which are totally described, totally explained by the product owner, those are called ready. Those are the ready product backlog items, and those will be considered for the sprint backlog. Product backlog describe the future state of product goal describes the future state of the product. Means what exact product, what is the goal of the product. If you have to create one software, what exactly the goal of that software, and for achieving that goal, what are the various tasks you need to perform. That is given in the product backlog, and product backlog will always be cross-checked against the product goal. So this is how the product backlogs are given. Epic, it is a long story. Then after that, features are described. Every feature of the software will be described in terms of the user story. User story can further be divided into the number of tasks. After the product backlog and the product goal. Product backlog is an artifact. Product goal is a commitment. Now here is the sprint backlog and sprint goal. In sprint backlog, we take certain tasks from the product backlog item. As we have discussed that in product backlog item, all the tasks required to complete the product goal are given in a single sprint. In a single sprint, all those cannot be considered. So for a particular selected sprint, we will find out, developer will finalize that which product backlog items can be considered, and at the same time, product backlog items, how those, what is the plan for delivering the increment, that will also be decided by the developer. And at the same time, what is the sprint goal? Means for that sprint, you have product goal for the product backlog. Now for the sprint, there is a sprint backlog. For sprint, exact what will be there in sprint backlog, you will be fetching some product backlog items in a sprint backlog. So what exactly the goal of the sprint, that will be given in sprint backlog only. So sprint backlog will have a set of product backlog items taken from the product backlog, then the plan for delivering the increment for the sprint, as well as the sprint goal. And this is all done by the developer. And developer throughout the sprint will be working to produce, to give the valuable increment in that particular sprint. So sprint goal is the objective for that sprint. That sprint goal cannot be changed, while sprint backlog can be changed. And this sprint backlog and sprint goal, specifically sprint goal, cannot be changed, and it is formed during the sprint planning. It is one of the events of the Scrum. So sprint goal is created during the sprint planning. Sprint backlog has a set of product backlog items, plan for delivering the increment and the sprint goal. This is done in a sprint planning event by the Scrum team. So here, this picture can depict exactly the sprint backlog, and the commitment for the sprint backlog is the sprint goal. Now the third artifact of the Scrum, that is increment, and the commitment for the increment is the definition of done. Now what is increment? Increment means exactly what, for every sprint, developer has to develop one small feature of the product, and that feature must be following certain quality measures, and those quality measures are given in definition of that. Once this feature is developed, it will be checked that that particular feature developed by the developer are following the quality measures defined in a definition of done. Then we can say this is a valuable increment. This can be used by the customer and it is ready to release to customer or the market. Okay, so after that, basically whatever feature is developed by the developer in a sprint, that must be integrated with the sum of all the increment, with the value of the increments of all previous iteration. Means for a particular sprint is happening, before that sprint many more sprints are already happened, and for every sprint there was an increment. So whenever any nth sprint is happening, for all n-1 sprints, increments are combined together. So for nth sprint, increment is whatever feature is developed in that particular sprint that will be integrated with all the features developers have developed before n-1 sprint, means in all previous iteration. So basically increment is the sum of all the items completed within the sprint plus the value of increment from the previous iterations. Now increments are given in every sprint, there must be increment. But whether that increment will be released to the customer or not, that will be decided by the product owner, not by the developer. Developer task is that whatever feature we have to develop, they have to develop in that particular sprint. They should develop that feature. That feature's quality must be checked against the definition of done, which is the commitment for the increment, and then that must be combined with the earlier iterations or sprints value of the increments. But releasing the increment is the product owner's discretion. Now, what is definition of done? It is a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. We have already discussed that we need to check whatever is mentioned in definition of done is followed by that particular increment. If this is the case, then only we can say that developers have successfully developed the increment. Now Scrum responsibilities. As of now, we have seen the Scrum 3 pillars. Then we have seen the Scrum 5 values. Then we have seen the Scrum artifacts. Then we have seen the Scrum events. There are 5 events, and now we are seeing the Scrum responsibilities. Earlier, it was used to say Scrum roles, but now it says Scrum responsibility. So there are 3 responsibility, that is developers, then product owners, and the Scrum Master. Developers, these are the people on the Scrum team. They are committed to create any aspect of usable increment in every sprint. In every sprint, a usable increment need to be produced by the developer. They create the sprint plan, that is the sprint plan, sprint backlog. Then they will check that whatever is the increment is created, that is adhering the standard of definition of done. While doing so, every time, every day, they will be checking that whatever progress they are doing, it is going towards the sprint goal. It is not deviating from the sprint goal, and they will be holding each other accountable as professional. Similarly, product owner. Now, what is the accountability of the product owner? It maximizes the value of the product. It maximizes the value of the product. Now, how it maximizes the value of the product? Because product owner only discussing with the interacting with the stakeholders, and then of it is forming the product goal and developing the product goal and explicitly communicating this product goal to the uh, other team members. That is the task of the product owner. Creating and clearly communicating the product backlog item, it is
I think there is a network issue from Madam's side. Kindly wait. We are seeing. Okay, we have a network issue from Madam's side. Madam will join shortly. Yes, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome back, ma'am. I think you are not connected to audio. Ma'am, we are not able to hear you. I think you are not connected to audio. आइकॉन पे अगर आप क्लिक करोगे ना,
Now, am I audible now? Okay, okay. Thank you. So, product owner accountability is to maximize the value. Product owner will be developing the product goals. They will be creating the product backlog items. At the same time, they will be communicating the product backlog item to the team members, because team members developers will be fetching the product backlog items for the sprint backlog. That's why developer must be very clear about the product backlog items. If any doubt is there with the developer for the product backlog item, they will be contacting the product owner. Product owner only will be defining the order and the priority of the product backlog item, and ensuring that the product backlogs are the transparent, visible, and understood, because that is the only everything about the value to be created in that sprint. By using the product backlog item during the sprint, developer will be creating the increments. That's why it is very much necessary for the developer to understand the product backlog items. So next responsibility of the Scrum is the Scrum Master. Now, what is the Scrum Master's accountability? Establishing the Scrum. Whatever we have discussed about the Scrum, what are the Scrum pillars, what are the Scrum values, how the Scrum will be working, what is the Scrum framework. Scrum Master is accountable for this, that it should give the explanation about the Scrum to everyone, about the theory, practices to the Scrum team as well as the organization. Scrum Master will help the team members that how they can self-manage themselves, how to do the cross-functionality, how to create the high-value increment, and if there are some impediments, some obstacle in Scrum team progress, then removing those obstacles is also the task of Scrum Master. Now, Scrum Master also helps the product owner as well as the organization. How the Scrum Master helps the product owner? Scrum Master find out the effective technique for defining the product goal as well as product backlog management. Similarly, it provides the way for the Scrum team to understand the need for clear and concise product backlog item. It also, a Scrum Master also established the empirical product planning for a complex environment. As we have seen that the Scrum framework is basically followed for the complex projects. Then, Scrum Master also supports the organization by giving the training and coaching about the Scrum. So basically, Scrum Master helps the Scrum team, Scrum Master helps the product owner, as well as Scrum Master helps the organization to understand the Scrum theory and practices. Now here, one by one, we have seen the Scrum values, Scrum pillars, then Scrum events, then Scrum artifacts, their commitments, Scrum event. Now here, this is the very important table where we are checking that there are 5 events, but the first event, that is the sprint, that is the container event of our rest of the 4 events, that is sprint planning, daily Scrum, and sprint review, sprint retrospective. These are the 4 events. Now, exactly, Scrum says that there is a 3 pillars, that is, everything must be transparent. There must be some inspection and adoption. So for every event, what artifact is inspected, that we must see. For sprint planning, we are inspecting the product backlog, and what we are adapting, product backlogs are already prepared by the product owner. Now this product backlog artifact will be considered in sprint planning, and then we are adapting it for the sprint goal, sprint backlog. Then who attend the sprint planning? Sprint planning is an event and it will be attended by all team members, product owner, Scrum Master, as well as the developers. And the time box for this sprint planning is 8 hours. If the sprint is of 1 month, sprint is always 1 month or lesser. Daily Scrum, it is for 15 minutes. This is also called as stand-up call. Then here, what is inspected? Here we inspect the sprint goal. What is the sprint goal? Whatever developers are developing, then whether they are developing something which is achieving the sprint goal. If not, where the change need to be done? The change need to be done in sprint backlog. As we said that the once sprint goals are defined, they cannot be changed. But to achieve that sprint goal, sprint backlogs can be changed. And who attend the daily Scrum? Developers attend this daily Scrum. Then next event is sprint review. Now here, what artifacts are inspected? Increment and product backlog, as well as, means this is the once the increment is done, developers have developed the feature which they are expected to develop. Then here, whatever the task is done by the developer, that will be present to the stakeholder by the Scrum team. Now the Scrum team as well as stakeholder will be attending this event. It is of 4 hours. And they will be checking that whatever the increment has happened, that is okay, correct. As well as what will be done in the next sprint, what feature will be considered. Then whichever feature you want to, Scrum team wants to take up, whether all the product backlog items are correctly defined. If not, then that artifact, that is product backlogs, adaptation can be done in product backlog in sprint review. Similarly, there is another event is sprint retrospective. That is the 3 hours event for 1 month sprint. Here inspection is done about the sprint. Sprint means what? Here inspection is done whatever is done in a current sprint in 1 month. Everything goes well, everything went well. What went well, what went wrong? By learning from the current sprint, you should have some actionable point. You can improve the commitment. Now, how to improve the commitment? Means here you can change the definition of done. Here, if you want to adapt something which is going wrong, which has gone wrong in a current sprint, and who attend this? Scrum team attends this. So this is all about the all sprint event. Here we have considered all event, we have considered all sprint all Scrum responsibilities, product owner, Scrum master, and developer who is attending which event. And then we have given that what is the time box for each event, that whichever is the event, it must not exceed that time box. Then who is attending that event, what artifacts are inspected in that particular event, and which artifacts here you are considering for the adoption. That is also given. The same representation is given in another form. So here you see that first thing before starting the sprint. Now here, as of now, we have learned about Scrum everything. First of all, that it must have 3 pillars, that is transparency, then inspection and adoption. Then there are 5 main values. Then there are 3 main responsibilities. Then there are 5 major events in the sprint. There are 3 artifacts. For every artifact, there is a commitment. Now all together here we can see what exactly how the Scrum framework is working. Product backlog developed by the product owner in concern with the stakeholder, given as an input for the sprint planning, which is of 8 hours if sprint is of 1 month. Then in sprint planning, sprint backlogs are developed. In sprint backlog, you have certain product backlog items planned for development of the increment as well as the sprint goal. And this document is given to the developer. And now developer is working on it. They will check the sprint goal. The main aim is sprint goal. They have to check the progress, how they are progressing towards the sprint goal daily. And the next event is the daily Scrum, which is of 15 minutes. Then they will check what they have done, what they have to do to reach the sprint goal, and is there any obstacle. If there is an obstacle, then the roles of Scrum Master comes. Scrum Master will remove that obstacle. Then once the feature which you want to, once the increment or the feature which you want to deliver in that particular sprint is done, it will be reviewed by the stakeholder. Once it is reviewed, it is accepted, they will plan for the next sprint. What here, the artifact which is adapted is the product backlog. So here actually in a sprint review, you are getting the increment outcome of your that particular sprint. After this third event, another event is sprint retrospective. This is of 3 hours. It is attended by the team members. Which are the team members? Product owner, Scrum Master, and the developers. Now they will check what went wrong, what went good in the current sprint. what went wrong. Now, whatever improvement need to be done, that must be considered in the next sprint. So this cycle again repeated for the next sprint. This is how the sprint works. Now, after this is all about the Scrum. It has events, artifacts. For every artifact, there is a commitment, and then there are the event, and what is the sequence for the various event, who is attending the event, what exactly is happening in that particular event, how the transparency is maintained with the help of the commitment, how the inspection is done with the use of commitment, and how the adoption is done. We have seen everything. Now, after this, we know now about Agile, we know about the Scrum framework. Now, next thing is that how it will help you in the career. Nowadays, in almost every software industry, Scrum is used. And when any student is going as a developer, then he must be getting acquainted with all these terms like sprint, stand-up calls, then retro, then review, sprint planning, user stories, and everything. But what is the typically the Scrum processes and theory and concepts are. If you know all these things, this will be the added advantage. So nowadays, certified Scrum Master, there are two roles, Scrum Master and the product owners. So I am giving you the details about the Scrum Master certification. Here there are two organizations, Scrum Alliance and the Scrum.org. They are having their own global certification, and these are acceptable all over the world. CSM is the certification given by the Scrum Alliance, while PSM is the certification given by the Scrum.org. Now I have given the comparison of this certification as well. Here, organization who is giving you this certification, then Scrum Alliance created in 2001, while PSM in 2009. What is the percentage? Passing percentage. For CSM, passing percentage is 75, wherein PSM it is 85. Exam pattern, multiple choice question. CSM is comparatively easy, while PSM is comparatively difficult if you compare it with the CSM. CSM validity is for 2 years, while PSM validity is for lifetime. Cost of the certification for CSM is more compared to PSM. For PSM, it is $150 and it is about 12 to 13,000 rupees. Other than this, here for CSM, you need not, you have to compulsorily attend the training and then you can appear for the certification. While for PSM, you need not have to appear for any training. You yourself can prepare for it by using the Scrum guide. So this is all about the certification. That's all. These are the references I have used for preparing this presentation. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am, for this important and informative session. It was very detailed and easy to understand language. So, on behalf of Indeed Inspiring Infotech, I thank you, Poonam Gupta, ma'am. And I also thank all the participants and viewers joined us on YouTube. So this concludes the session. We will see you again. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.